Like, how hungover were you that day? Was
No.
it
I very much learned from my mistakes.
Those were great. Oh, there we are. Just had a... Thank you very much, ma'am. There you go. So I've had some donuts delivered from my mum. Thank you very much for that.
I don't get very bullish. I'm not going to do we're going to stuff 5-0. Yeah. I don't.
So don't listen. or do, because we could do with the extra views, and I'll tell you why exactly you are horrible little vermin.
Hey, this is Robbo.
I'm Robbo Jr.
And make sure you tune in this week.
It's a good one, don't miss it.
What's up? How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Good. Well, this is the first time we're meeting up. Obviously, we're covering the men's game. We didn't record another episode that will go out after this one for the women's game previous to this. This is definitely the first time. So how are you doing, Nick?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, so fresh from thawing out from just seeing the women beat Barry Town, which is great. Very cold. I don't think it's cold as in what SJ would deem as cold, but it was cold.
And yeah, SJ, how's it over there in the cold North Pole?
Oh, it is right now. It is 18 degrees at 11 o'clock in the morning. We've got, not a lot of snow on the ground, a couple, 3-4 inches, but there's a lot of ice on it too. It was freezing rain on top of the snow last night. So, nice and toasty. When I went to Wrexham and people were like, the weather here, and I'm like, no, I got it. Like, it's good. Yeah. So, and I'm staying warm, and the women's win that it wasn't really last minute goal, but the second half, that woke me up, got me going, brings the heat.
Yeah, and it was a last minute goal by the women's team. Horrible puns. I'll be here all day. You guys can skip ahead to pass all bad jokes. Well,
no, we want them to listen to the pod. Don't tell them to skip ahead. It'll be
when do the bad jokes end?
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
I meant play it and don't listen. Just hit it on repeat, play it and don't listen. You'll be happier for that. Well, today we're taking a look at Newport. We are coming off of some great wins from Wrexham. We just past weekend faced AFC Wimbledon. That was a fun and exciting match. Nick, what were your thoughts on the past match versus AFC Wimbledon?
Well, I've slept since then, but I think...
Wait. Hold on. This is completely wrong. I didn't even introduce who Nick is because I said, you assume that... I totally... I fooled myself in doing it.
This woman's here. Yeah. We'll ask her something.
Hey, Rando. What are you doing?
Yeah.
We've droned our camera into some random person's house, and we're just going to start asking questions. Yeah. No,
right,
Nick, you're amazing.
Let me redo it.
Everybody knows you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have Nick here today. Nick, who has started and formed so many good movements to help the women's game. Nick, I'm gonna try to say the group that you started on WhatsApp that became a supporters group. It's Merched Kairas.
It's close enough. Yeah, Merched Kairas.
Okay, what is... Oh, wait, one more time, clean, so that I don't interrupt you.
It's Merched Kairas.
Oof. All right, I'll spend a month trying to learn how to say that.
Merched.
Is that the beginning?
Yeah,
Merched?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm sorry, that's the German pronunciation that gets stuck in the back of my throat. Don't know if any of that travels for all the Welsh lessons. But prynhawn da.
Diolch. Prynhawn da.
Nick. Croeso. So, Nick is here. She is also part of Her Game 2 and also starting a new thing with Steve and DragonChat that we'll get into speaking about. You all, if you've tuned in before, you know who SJ is. Big Wrexham fan from America, from Portland. And what we like to do is take a look from a basic beginner's point of view, take a look at not only Wrexham the team, but the town, the people, what it means to be a Wrexham. Well, without further ado, we have Nick on the show today. And Nick, who is Nick?
Wow. I mean, from a Wrexham perspective, I've supported the team probably since the early 90s. So maybe like 10 or 11 years old, going sporadically at first, and then getting a season ticket, getting our seat with my dad and my uncle, and yeah, sat in the same seat, creature of habits for going on 20 years, down in the what you know, us oldies call the paddock, in the Wrexham lager stand. So yeah, old time. I don't want to say an old timer because I'm not. Yeah, but yeah, you know, I've been through the ringer, I would say, as a Wrexham fan. So really enjoying the good times at the minute.
And you're part of Her Game 2. For anybody that doesn't know what Her Game 2 is, could you let everybody know?
Yeah, so Her Game 2, it's a voluntary organisation started by a group of female fans about 3 years ago that were just wanting to create a safe space for women to go to football and make football in general just safer for women, supporting the grassroots part of the football as well, and having like a reporting function to be able to report any sexism, misogyny that people hear or experience themselves at football. Their main aim is to partner at the minute with the 92 league clubs. We're at 73, so we're getting there. It's going really, really well. It's a not-for-profit organisation, so all the money that's made through selling the merchandise, you can get Her Game 2 hoodies, iron-on stickers, t-shirts, hats, everything else. All of that money goes back into football, goes back into grassroots football, encouraging girls to play, get involved. And it's just very supportive, very supportive community with some very inspiring, women involved.
Why is it important to raise the profile of the women's game?
I think, Her Game 2 comes from a point of, we're talking about the women's game, we're talking about women playing football, but we're talking about women in football in general, and that's both the men's and the women's game. And it's just important because we're here, we're in football, we're not going to go anywhere, we're here to stay. Let's just make it a safe place for anybody, absolutely anybody to kind of enjoy and get involved in, whether that be professionally or, literally just going to watch the matches. It's just important for, football is a game for everybody.
Ooh, yeah, the beautiful game should be for everybody. I couldn't even imagine if, the state of the game before today, because there still seems like so much work that needs to be done to bring things up to the speed and the equality, not only for consuming and coverage of the women's game, but also just like the support from the average fan and the view of the women's game and the women's athletes. You mentioned that you got into Wrexham at a young age, around 11 years old. When those earliest memories of your Wrexham matches where you're getting hooked to the game, how do you think your fan perspective has evolved throughout the years from when you were first watching Wrexham into now, with things like Her Game 2, with the supporters group that you have, and obviously the DragonChat that you're launching to?
It's a different world. When I was that age, there was no route for me into football, as in playing football. Like, there was just no visibility. There was no, there's this girls' team here, or, like I used to train, like my dad had a youth team. I used to train with them. I wasn't allowed to play because I was too old to play in a mixed team. And from like a fan perspective, it's just so different. There's no social media. You found out where Wrexham were playing in the paper. You'd found out they were home. You turn up, you pay your cash on the turnstile, and you get in and you sit where you want. And it's just a different world now with social media. There's positives and negatives, but the positives for me far outweigh the negatives, as in you garner this community and you meet people that live on the other side of the world that have taken Wrexham to their heart, it's madness. And I couldn't imagine that being a thing. Well, it wouldn't even, 30 years ago, who would ever have thought this is where the club would be now?
Yeah, you look at like Wrexham appointed their first female CEO. Do you think this signifies a shift in the club culture, or do you think it's something that was already a part of the culture? We just get to see like this event of an appointment of a female CEO.
I think from my own experiences watching Wrexham, I think I've been very privileged to never experience sexism or misogyny like directly to me. I know lots of other fans that their experience has not been the same, but I've always gone to football with my dad and my uncle, and the people that sit around me are all men, and I've grown up with them. So that maybe that's gone, that respect that I'm like, oh, you started going at this age and you're still here and you seem to know what you're talking about, like, or you seem to have opinions, and those opinions are not that they're okay, but I'll respect those opinions. But I know from her game too that experience is not mirrored everywhere, and not everybody has those positive experiences, and that's why her game too is really important. It's if you experience misogyny, if you experience sexism at a football match, you can report that through her game too, and her game too work with the clubs to have a conversation with them and be like, what happened? Why did that happen? Do we need to do something different at the club?
It's an absolutely beautiful thing. Something that where if you're opposed to it, it's kind of like a good litmus test. If anybody's opposed to her game too, you're like, oh, a person I should never come in contact with or be around ever in my life. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, because I'd just be like, why? Like, if you're actively opposed to it, be neutral, or even better, supporters. Because why wouldn't you want women at the football match?
It's the thumper rule, right? Like, Bambi, like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm the only one here with Bambi.
I thought I was learning a new football term. I'm like, okay, the thumper rule. Ooh, I haven't heard this one
Disney
before.
FC, right?
I knew it was the rabbit.
Yeah. No, I've never kind of understood that thing of, well, you guys got to try to make things better for yourselves. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not complaining that it's not fair. I'm actually just doing something to change what I don't like. Like, everybody does that, Oh, I don't like this. Well, I guess some people just do complain about stuff and never change it. But that's the idea, right? Like, I'm gonna change something because it's not what I like. Well, this doesn't affect you. Like, why do you care that we're putting tools in place to help support other people?
Yeah. Well, it's always people fear change. Nic even said she's a creature of comfort. That's that thing where it's like, if you don't know what it is, there's like that fear where the ignorance comes from. But then the people in the stands that are all around Nic, they know her and they see her. And so how can they be either misogynistic or something about somebody that they know on a human level? The more that we can get that, I think, like, the more that we're better for it. And the more that I get to hear, like, as a man, I get to hear from your perspective, then the more that I get to be educated and more understanding that I can have to, like, hopefully be an ally and support you all in making it a better environment and more hospitable for all fans. And then hopefully at some day in the hopefully not far future, we can just all give good banter to men, women, and alike. And everybody's like, yeah, that's normal because we're all equal and this is normal. We've been getting along for so long that it's not a big deal.
Nic, I had a question about the banter in the fans, and you said you hadn't experienced anything personally that you felt was, inappropriate in that way. Do you think that I know this is kind of worldwide perspective, but like within football, do you think that there's things that men say to each other that they assume, like, if they say to a woman that it should be taken the same way? So I think there's this idea of, like, well, I could say that to a guy and he wouldn't get offended. You're being overly sensitive about whatever. But it's something you probably shouldn't say to a man either. So if we're talking about, doing things to other people's mothers or whatever, talking about the way somebody sleeps around, or I'm trying really hard not to swear here, but I'm like, I have had that non-football context. I've had that where it's like, this is just a dude's joke, and I'm like, yeah, but you probably shouldn't. This is just making you look bad. And I'm not sure if sometimes it's like, maybe the pushback is like, oh, I'm just calling attention to the fact you're making yourself look bad. But I don't know. I'm starting to get really negative. But I just think it's great. And I'm wondering if you have found that there is a perception of a difference of, like, what a man should be able to listen to that a woman should too. Like, are you trying to change the perspective of what is appropriate to say overall? It's kind of my impression of what Her Game 2 is focused on.
So Her Game 2 is focused on sexism and misogyny. Whether that is personally to a woman playing, a woman watching the game, a female official, you know, God forbid, you know, women are now referees and linos, you know, and it's like, you know, women are in a lot more places of football. Even just a like banter that it's dressed up as quite a lot between fans, like, let's just not make it gendered, and let's not be sexist, and let's not be like misogynist about this. And there's things that were accepted in the 60s and 70s in football that is wholly unacceptable now. You know, sexism, misogyny really should be the same. You know, there's still going to be insults flown, I'm sure, between fans. There's, you know, it's going to happen. But there's just a difference between that and, you know, I've seen it previously. If there's like a physio that's female and she goes to do her job, and then all of a sudden there's 200 people chanting certain things at her and trying to dress it up as banter, that's not... I need to maybe talk about your definition of banter, because it's not a load of men chanting at a woman doing her job.
And that's kind of like the out here New Yorkers will say no offense and then say the most offensive thing after it, but they feel like they said no offense at the beginning, therefore anything after that, it's like, hey, no offense, but I think you're the worst human and the stupidest person I've ever met in my life, but no offense. It feels like when I hear UK or British people say, oh, that's just banter, it's just banter, I feel like that's the same thing. They're like, whoa, it's just banter, but you're the worst, most worthless piece I've ever seen in my life. It's just banter. It's banter. Hey, it's banter. Which SJ's point is having standards good for football. It's like, probably. Because if you're raising the way that a certain group that is marginalized is treated, well, then probably that's going to be better for everybody, in recognizing that everybody should be treated with decency and respect. It's not just the groups that you name. It's not just the ones that have supporters groups or have foundations behind it. It's everybody should be treated with decency and respect. It's sad that the world needs to have a Her Game 2 movement. It's sad that it needs it. But in the world that we're in right now, I'm super glad we do. I'm super glad that we do have it, because it is what is needed. And what could people like me who are in another country and who aren't there do to help support the cause and support the movement?
So, I mean, first of all, just send us your money.
Done.
I mean,
I have room for some merch.
We do have merchandise that you can buy. As I said before, all of that money goes back into grassroots football. I think, you know, as just an absolute basic level, you know, it's just positive engagement with everybody online, and it's that kind of allyship of, you know, oh, hey, this person said something about football. Doesn't matter who's behind that account. You know, it's an opinion. It's, you know, they haven't got that opinion because they're a woman, or they haven't got that opinion because they're a man. They just enjoy football, and they enjoy watching football, you know, whether that's for the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that, you know, everyone's got their perspective of a match. I think it's just positive engagement. You can go to Her Game 2 website and you can buy, you know, merchandise that helps support grassroots football. They do have some very nice things on there. I'm
going to say you can get a link here.
Other than that, you know, follow... you know, follow the social media accounts, you know, share what we put up there. They put some fantastic content. Her Game 2 and Her Game 2 Cymru, you know, they do have some great content they put out there about their work, you know, so an absolute minimum, just share away on social media.
All right, so yeah, like SJ said, we'll go ahead and throw that into the description. I'm still learning how YouTube works, so I'll figure out how to do the timestamp thing where you click on it and then there's the link next to the timestamp thing.
I can help with that.
So, hey, all right, there we go. That's what the teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah. All right.
I still want to get our high five down. Like, I keep trying to get him to, like, we got to line up except for I don't know where my screen ends and his begins. Yeah. Anyway,
I think
we'll get it.
I think the magic of editing will get it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, guys, that looked like you were both trying to slap me in the face.
That's going to be the best.
Well, and now that's how the
If I
edit's
went
going
like
to be.
that would have been really good.
Yeah. All right, here, we'll go again.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Well,
right.
that brings up another. Looking ahead, Nic, what are your hopes and aspirations for both Her Game 2 and the future of female football in the UK?
I think for Her Game 2, the aim is just to partner with the 92 football club, like the English Football League clubs. As a wider aim, it's to reduce abuse, misogynistic and sexism, to make football just a nicer environment, a safe environment for women just to go and watch. I think the women's game is having it's having its moment now. It's as popular as it's ever been, since before it got banned in this country. If you're looking at the WSL in England, you're talking about sometimes crowds of like 40, 50,000. Even, just looking at Wrexham, they're getting, more people watching than they've had before. So I just think hopefully that carries on. And it's the crowds keep on coming. And there's a place for women's football there, as much as a lot of people don't want it or don't see it as, valid. It's a great game. It's great to go and watch it. It's different from the men's game, of course it is. As with all sports, men's and women's are different. But, I enjoy both. And also, if you don't enjoy both, that's also okay. But don't use it as an excuse to invalidate women's football. But to end on a positive, it's front and centre at the minute. You're seeing more matches than ever on national, mainstream TV in this country, particularly. There's, it's more accessible for people to go and watch, which is, fantastic to see.
I really like, Che has mentioned before how, and people have said like, oh, the family environment. But I remember Che saying something like his little boy doesn't really differentiate between the men and women's players, as like, this is a woman's match and this is the men's match, as two different sports. Like his little kid brain is like, we're going to watch football. And it is at some point, I think, and then this is my opinion, but at some point I think like when you do have access to, for little, you have women's football, you have access for kids to go see that. If they're growing up with that, then it's just like a normal thing. Like I remember the women's basketball here, like trying to start, and how, oh my God, it was like this big thing. Like, the men were like, oh, forlorn, you're insulting us with your female presence in our, court or whatever.
We're fragile. We are absolutely fragile.
Oh,
We are the weakest emotionally things you'll find in nature.
Yeah.
We are so emotionally fragile. You could just say, I was thinking of starting something different, but why? Am I not good enough?
Yeah. But, now I see like it's just a normal thing that women play basketball. But there's a generation of people that have grown up with that being normal. And then, so it kind of sucks in a way to have to, be like, okay, well, starting now, we're going to make it normal. But, it has to kind of, I guess it doesn't have to start somewhere, but why shouldn't it? And I think that having, stuff like Her Game 2, where if nothing else, if somebody doesn't want to change their behavior, you're at least highlighting that they have it. And if they choose to still want to be that person, well, can't be friends with everybody.
Exactly. And that's where Her Game 2 comes from, when they're talking about, it's talking about education and talking about, and as you're saying, like kids now, well, they're going to watch a football game and that's what they'll grow up with. We go and watch Wrexham women's, we go and watch Wrexham men's. There's this football match on the TV and it happens to be Man United women and playing Chelsea, and there's no difference. There's no like, it's just different genders playing the same game. And Her Game 2 spend a lot of time educating people, going into different places, going into the football clubs we partner with, and talking to stewards, talking to staff and that kind of thing about it, about the origins and about the things that we've seen, the things that people have experienced, and how you kind of move things forward.
Nice. And then I just had a question with about her game too. You're also for DragonChat, which is the men's mental health support group, and then you're helping the women's DragonChat get started.
Yes,
is
that's correct.
That's right.
Yeah. So Steve, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, how do you think those two things can work together? Like, can you tell us a little bit about the DragonChat, but also maybe how those two things can work together, and what kind of benefits you may see from having that dual support system in football for women?
I think so. So Steve, who started DragonChat, has a men's mental health peer support group every week, 90 minutes. It's invaluable. You've heard some fantastic things coming out of the men's group, because men's mental health is so important. It's really impacted. I don't know if it's the same over with you guys in America, but in the UK it's hard because it's that not traditional for men to talk about their feelings, and it's really important, so Steve is kind of driven to start a women's chat, and we'll be starting that week on Monday, the 22nd of January. So it's really exciting. Anyone's welcome to the group. So there's been now a men's and a women's group, and I think it's first of all an opportunity to talk about how you're feeling, about your mental health, about anything that might be going on in your life, to get access to other support. So we can signpost you to other organisations that might be really focused on something that's specific going on in your life, but also it's just another community of women chatting about football again. Maybe just making those connections with somebody that lives down the road or on WhatsApp or anything like that. It's just forming little communities that it goes hand in hand. If somebody is like, oh, do you know what, this happened to me in the football last week and someone called me this, I'm like, right, we'll report that through her game too, and then that goes to the football club, and then that and it's things like that, and all of a sudden you've got this kind of power in numbers that just chatting to each other sometimes does relieve those stresses, I guess, in life.
That's so valuable to have that outlet. And so this comes full circle, because we had Steve on over a month ago, and he said he had a small announcement in the works of having a women's DragonChat. And he's like, I'm working with a few women right now to put it together. So this is so good to bookmark that, and that it's actually coming to fruition. And the first meeting is on the 22nd
of January.
Is correct?
So week on Monday.
All right.
It's exciting.
Okay, and I'll leave the link into that. Is it linked off of Wrexham's web page?
It'll be the same.
The men's DragonChat
it'll be the same place basically on the website, and it'll we'll share it with everybody. Steve will share it through his DragonChat socials with the link of where how to join us next week.
Is that something that is more for the Wrexham community, or kind of Wales UK based, or is that something that international fans can participate in, or is it really trying to support the local network of fans? Anybody
can join. The men's chat have people from across the globe. Again, there are some international fans that join the men's chat. So it's not, it's for everybody. For that one. Again, everybody's welcome.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for doing all that good work. Now, let's take a shift and look towards Rodney Parade and facing Newport County.
Wait,
obviously,
what's Rodney Parade?
Yeah, that's where they play.
Oh, okay. I learned something on this Teach Me pod.
Oh, okay. To the stadium, Rodney Parade. Yeah. So we're looking at Newport, who we faced before, the other Welsh club in the League Two. There's some good history between Wrexham and Newport going back some years. If you guys aren't both rooting for the Welsh national team, then of course there's a little bit of a rivalry, I guess a diet rivalry, a Welsh derby, if you will. Nic, did you or your family or anybody have any ill will or any feelings towards Newport County in the past?
I mean, yeah. Just from a, I mean, nothing like personal, nothing like specific, but
Spicy.
you know, I'm not gonna forget going to Wembley and being beaten in the playoff finals when we'd, you know, amassed all those points that I think would have got us top spot in the league for the next 6 seasons or something stupid, but just because of one other team we end up, you know, going to the playoffs and Newport beat us, and it was just one of the just most heartbreaking matches to, you know, we'd been to Wembley about 7 weeks before, and we'd won the FA Trophy, and then we're going back in, you know, however long, and just wasn't the same kind of outcome, and it was sad. So it's
Was that the 98-point season?
Yeah. You know, we would have just won the league any other season. So just bad memories, and it was nice, you know. And then they beat us in the FA Cup not long ago, maybe I want to say 2018. So it's nice. It was nice to get that win on the you know, felt like a bit of revenge before Christmas. So hopefully we can take 3 points off them at their place as well. It'll go some way to healing that hurt.
Yeah. So it's still new. You know, the wound is still new.
I don't want to say I'm dramatic when it comes to football, healed. But it hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the closest at the time of like record-breaking season. So to get that high amount of points and then to not have get promoted, like, speaks to the depths of hell that is the National League.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think I've heard a couple of people say it was maybe a sliding doors moment, because if we beat Newport, we get promoted, the takeover never happens. So, you know, Newport fans like to call us Disney FC, but they had their own hand in creating us, because they beat us. Yeah. Whereas if we win, it's a different future for the club. So, you know, maybe we'll take some positives from it, possibly.
I wonder if that's part of the reason with Knots last year and that push with Knots and Wrexham through the league and you know, just hammering those points. I wonder if the kind of, I don't know if I want to say goodwill from Wrexham to Knots, but like respect of that challenge, just besides the competitive nature, I wonder if like getting 98 points and not going up was part of like the goodwill, I guess, you know, the respect towards Knots of like, man, you're doing the same thing we did. If you get screwed, I'm going to, you know, have a lot of sympathy for that, because we had that happen to us. And I say that as, obviously I wasn't there when that happened to Wrexham, but I do hear a lot of the pain and from people and, you know, see the shirts and stuff. So, you know, I know it was pretty intense. And I think partly for that reason, like it was nice to see Knots go up last year, but I don't know. All bets are off.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Notts County deserved to go up last season. If they hadn't have gone up, I mean, I don't know if I'd have batted an eyelid. Like, you know, they just obviously deserve to go up. Like, you can't push a team like that to the absolute final 2 games or whatever. And for them not to go up would have been very unjust. And luckily they did what they needed to do. But yeah, it's old now, that, isn't it? We're doing pretty well this season. You know, there's less of a rivalry, I think, now, if at all, from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, it's a polite way of saying that. Doing so great now.
Yeah, Luke Williams saw the ship was going down. He left. He abandoned them.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens. I obviously don't have the same buildup of background with the teams to have the same emotional attachment, but that's part of what this Teach Me How to Wrexham pod is, so that we can learn, what is the background and where are the emotions coming from. And so, yeah, with the 98-point season with Newport, there's still that bad taste, that recency, but also maybe us Americans are rubbing off on you that you looked to the silver lining of it, and you're like, but the takeover might not have happened. It's like, that doesn't sound very British of you to look to the positives there.
There's too many international fans in this WhatsApp group, and it's there's too much being like, oh, well, listen, there is a bright side to this, and, yeah, and it's nice to be able to, not nice to be able to look back, but to go, yeah, that happened, but, we're where we are now, and it's nice to get to be playing those games again that have got a little bit of spice, a little bit of hate. Shrewsbury is another one. It's nice to get those matches again that really, with the kind of rivalries of old, which is, you can't be mad at that.
Yeah, they'll wake you up. Well, looking at Newport, 17th on the table right now. SJ, how do you feel about Newport and their form in this match?
So I've got the details here, the little rundown of where Newport are at. So like you said, they're 17th on the table. They have 34 points. That's 9 wins, 7 draws, 11 losses. Their goal difference, -6, 39 for, 45 against. And then just a reminder that Wrexham is second, and our goal difference is +18, 54 for, and 36 against. I'll say that really quick. And so there is, a gap in our performance between the two teams. Their top scorer is Will Evans. They're number 7. He's got 15 of those 39 goals. And he has 1 assist, 5 yellows. And then Omar Bogle, he's their number 9. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists, also 5 yellows. So those are kind of their top scorers. For their keeper, for defense, Nick Townsend, he's had 25 appearances. He's had 5 clean sheets. That's like 20%. So that includes 71 saves, which, but then those, 40 of those goals let in. And then to compare that with Okonkwo, who he's made 16 appearances, but he's had 8 clean sheets. So 50%. Of his for his performance, and for 47 saves. So, Townsend has more saves, but to me that kind of indicates, leaky ship. I don't know if I like to think of the leaky ship, but I like the term of I feel like you can have a lot of positive performances in different places, but if you're still letting goals in, if you're letting those by, I love it. I love it if somebody else is a leaky ship. Anyways, yeah. So he's only Okonkwo, in his 16 appearances only had 14 goals against, versus Townsend with his 25 appearances, that's 40. So, we're just a little tighter there. And then for Newport's discipline, it's they're still, when we talked about the AFC Wimbledon, we did the pod last time. Newport are still tied with Stockport and Harrogate for the top of the discipline table. So they're the three teams that have the best discipline record right now. And then Newport has 42 yellows and 1 red, but they have 5 players on 5 yellows, whereas our discipline, we're like in the middle of the table still, and we got McLean with his 7. Did he I think he might have 8 now though. Didn't he just get, I think he got one in the AFC Wimbledon match. Yeah, so I think he's on 8 yellows now. But we've got McLean at the top, and then Lee with 5 after, and then ours and O'Connell. But like they have a lot of players on 5, so I just see, you know, my new fan mind. I like to kind of put that together: goal difference, the strength of scoring, the defensive strength, and then the kind of the discipline, and think of like how much can they produce, how much can they control, and how scrappy do they get. I don't know, it seems kind of messy to me. I get this kind of impression of just being messy, which, you know, 17th on the table. So I am hopeful that we are going to do okay and pick up 3 points against them. I don't know if I've really formed a prediction yet, though. I need some more information.
Fair enough. And Nick, how do you feel about Newport County?
Just, you know, we just want 3 points, don't we? I think to beat them, to beat them before Christmas was great. To beat them in their own backyard is, you know, will feel a bit nicer. You know, our away form is not exactly tip top this season, but when it comes to Wrexham men, I will always predict a win, no matter what, because more than likely, at the minute, they are going to win. I think because so Newport have got a game on Tuesday, so they might be a little bit less well rested, maybe when it gets around to next weekend. So yeah, we've got a longer recovery from Saturday to Saturday, whereas they've got to do an FA Cup game on Tuesday, so they might swing in our favour as well.
Oh, theirs is FA Cup.
Replay,
is it a rematch?
Yeah, so they've got to play Eastleigh. And the replay, which, you know, could then go to extra time, could then go to penalties. That could have an impact depending, obviously, what team they put out.
Just wear them down. We want them to just wear themselves down.
You want 0-0 going into extra time and then to extra time. Yeah. In the FA Cup they do extra time and then penalties?
They do, yeah.
On the replay?
Yes, I'm pretty sure they still do extra time and penalties. That may have changed. I find it's very difficult to keep on track of all the rules of all the different cups that we do. But yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
What?
Which is,
what league is Eastleigh in? Aren't they in the National League?
I want to say National League, because we played them. We did play them last season. I don't think they went down. I'm going to have to check it now just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure they're National League. I want to say the winner gets Man United. So yeah, that's quite a nice kind of reward, I think, to getting through.
My in real life football friend that I know in Portland, who is an Arsenal supporter, I last year got to rub it in his face that Wrexham stayed in longer, only because we had the replay with Sheffield United, but they got knocked out, and I was like, yeah, we're still in it. And then this year the same thing happened because they got knocked out by Liverpool. And then I was able to kind of come back with like, yeah, a lot of Wrexham fans want to play Liverpool since, Arsenal are out of the cup. So I'm learning some good lessons on how to give grief to rival fans. I'm creating my own personal rivalry with an Arsenal fan.
Well, Nick, when we're looking at the team and specifically the men's team, are there at this moment any holes that you see that we need to look for in the January transfer window, or anything that maybe just within recent form that maybe we should be changing and switching up? I
think if we didn't bring anybody new in this month, I think we still get promoted. I think There are positions that maybe need a bit of backup. Our back line has been dogged by injuries this season. But I think the current guys that are back there at the minute, I think Max is something else for a 21-year-old. I think anybody that Parky would potentially bring in, he's thinking about League One, and he's thinking, you know, I don't think that we need to bring anyone in to get the job done this season, but next season it's a completely different kettle of fish, and I think the standard going up into League One the gap is bigger, I think, and certainly the top of League One, because obviously they're the teams vying for the championship. It's a lot harder. So I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if we didn't bring anybody in January. You know, I'd love to see a permanent Arthur sign in. You know, I'd love to get that. You know, to get that job done. And to get him signed on for longer than this season. I think he's a really up-and-coming goalkeeper for the future. You know, I think if we were to do one bit of business in January, it would be, let's get him signed on and secured at Wrexham. But, I don't know. I don't think there's anywhere else that I'd go. We're desperate for cover at the minute. Maybe the front, dare I say the front... Don't know. No, I'm quite happy, I'll be honest. With injuries, you know, you have up front. Fletcher's been looking outstanding. Do you think that's the tandem then going for the rest of the season? Mullen and Fletcher. Potentially that's what he's going to go with, because I don't know how you could change it now. Based on the last couple, you know, his last couple of games, obviously Fletcher is in his, so we say the twilight of his career, or as Humphrey calls him, the haunted grandfather clock or something like that. But you know,
But it's hard to argue with the hat trick.
It's hard to kind of go, he doesn't get benched yet. Because him and Mullen are doing, you know, they're doing great things, and you know, Ollie's coming back, which makes it even better. And do we need more backup for next? I'm looking at next season now. Do we need more backup? Yes, we do. You know, but that's what I don't. Obviously, I'm not in the mind of Parky at all. But as I said before, if we don't do any business in January, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, we have just an outstanding team. So if we didn't make any moves, it's like we might be one of the few teams that has the luxury of surviving the league.
Yeah.
And
I think
and
January
not
window
moves.
to me as well is people going, right, what do we need to get through to the end of the season? What do we need to do to get in the playoffs, win the league, avoid relegation? And I think we've got that team. I don't think he needs to make any kind of, and it's Parky's not one to make a rash decision to just sign a player kind of thing. So, but you know, he'll know where he thinks he might need to strengthen. You know, if one of the back three, you know, one of Ben, Max or Tok gets injured, there might be a problem.
I wonder, so with Wrexham being out of the league for, you know, and having financial issues and stuff, I don't know if comparing turnover, like recent player signings and releasing, and I know turnover means like how much money the club has coming in and out, but I don't know if that's what it means when you have players coming in and out. But yeah, so with the player turnover, how, like, I don't know if there's a normal amount of how many people you would bring in, like new signings you would have every year, or whether that's traditionally like more January or in the summer. I feel like my impression is that there seems to be a lot of forward thinking on Parky's part of bringing players in from upper leagues and bringing them down, and it seems like maybe a league to 2 leagues above. But I'm wondering how much like wholesale turnover would disrupt this like camaraderie and like friendly, positive competition for minutes on, you know, in starting positions. So I don't know if you have anything you can teach me about, you know, just squad turnover and what that kind of usually looks like.
Yeah, you don't want to disrupt the squad. You know, it's working. What they're doing is working. If we were, you know, not even if we were mid-table, if we were lower and, you know, yeah, then you want to go, we're not where we want to be, let's try and strengthen. But we're second, you know, and we've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
we've had our fair share of injuries. I think. I don't think it's necessary. I think, as you were saying before, Parky's he's always looking to the future, and he's probably thinking, if there was an opportunity to bring in a player in January that would work for next season, potentially as a League One team, you don't think he's going to pass that up. But potentially, unless you're going to throw down big money on players, you better business is done in the summer. Just with a longer transfer period, people potentially coming out of contract. Wrexham Twitter is beautiful for transfer rumours. You'll see them every day. So there's always a transfer rumour to go and find and to go and say, oh, he's that player. Let's have a little look and what have you. So
yeah, I'm still trying to learn about how somebody threw some name out there and somebody in a different area thrown a different end name out. So I was like, well, how did these two stack up? And they're like, well, this one is this completely other position. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, but which one do you think might be a better benefit coming into the team? People like to throw out, you guys have so much money to throw around. It's like, yeah, not really. So, if we're trying to commit to, I'm assuming the whole entire world wants us to sign a Conquo. But if that's our priority, we're trying to budget for that. If there's rumors of, I don't know, another striker coming in, or a rumor of, a center back. Well, how do those, which one's the priority? Where should we spend that cash to figure it out? I don't know. Just little stuff like that is really, I don't know. I'm trying to learn everything all at once, and it's very confusing.
I think, Wrexham as a club drives a lot of traffic. If you were to write about them and maybe suggest that a certain player is on their way there, and it might be beneficial of an agent, for example, to be like, oh yeah, Wrexham are interested in this player, when they're not, kind of thing. Because I think I think it was on Rob Ryan Red podcast, they were saying after your United's, your Liverpool's clicks onto articles about Wrexham are top. So it's of benefit to write about Wrexham and to maybe just throw out some names that could sign for us, but might not and probably won't. But in Parky we trust. So we'll wait and see when that tweet comes out with the little signature signing thing. We'll wait and see what happens. We'll be like, oh well, I didn't see that coming.
Well, and everybody's talking about the coolest kid at school, Wrexham. It's for the supporters and for the haters, it's just clickbait. Just Wrexham. I didn't even want to be a part of a podcast, but I fell for my own clickbait and jumped on this thing. But there is this storyline to a storyline where it's it was a Cinderella story and a fairy tale, and then there was the promotion. It's is it no longer fairy tale? Where are we at on the arc, on the Disney Plus arc?
Have we come to happily ever after? Is that what you're asking?
I think we have. I think, when people say it was a fairy tale or an underdog story, if you track back to pre-takeover, to pre-COVID, and you take that story, yes, it is an underdog story. Yes, we've got fantastic owners who've really invested in the club, and I'd like to say it's a fairy tale because it irks so many people. It's tale as old as time kind of thing. But from where we were to where we are now, but I think now it's how we work, smart, just make it sustainable, make it, they're not throwing, because they're not allowed to throw millions and millions and millions of pounds at players, Yeah. But I think we're maybe at not happily ever after, but we're happy.
Well, and when everybody's saying we're spending so much money, which we're spending more than the other teams are, but isn't that based upon a percentage of your gate of how much money the team is bringing in? So the money that you're allowed to spend also reflects how much support your team actually has. So the other teams that are out there, like, oh, you guys are spending all that money. Well, we're not breaking rules. We're not Man City. We're not breaking rules over here. We're doing it the right way.
Someone I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the first season in League Two, I don't think you're subject to the financial fair play or whatever it's called now, because obviously it's your first season in.
Oh, really?
I don't think...
That rings a bell.
I don't think you're subject to it. I am sure the club have got it in the back of their mind that, like, why would we spend way more than we're taking in, because it's not sustainable for when we get to next season. You don't want a load of players on stupid contracts. What are the ranges of Mullin's salary that you've seen on Twitter that he's in? Anything from 5 to 50 grand a week. It's probably somewhere in that, not somewhere in that range, but that's a massive range to kind of go through. But it happens in every single league. The teams that have got the money, they can spend it.
Yeah.
I wish that there was like it's such a blanket statement to be like, well, you're buying into, and it's like, well, but the difference is, like, if you have I feel maybe it's splitting hairs, but if you have a owner or conglomerate like Man City, and they're just raining money in to the club, but there's no like support under that to be sustainable. I see how that totally sucks and is not it's not fair. But when you have a club that is creating the highest attendances of everywhere they go, is getting some of the highest attendances this season, then all those pounds add up. Like that's the fan base saying we are propelling our team. It's not the owners just dumping money in for and buying the league. It's like the fan base is helping propel it. And I see how people want to be dismissive, and maybe there are some truths to, like, the owners came in and did some cash infusion, but really they just bought a club that was already like in the clear financially, and then you did restructuring, and the fans are still like super invested. And I'm sticking by that because we're better. We're the better ones.
I think, and it's fortunate that the owners bring with them the opportunity to bring in some stupid sponsors. Like, we've had some fantastic companies sponsor us in the past, but then all of a sudden you've got TikTok and then United Airlines on the front of your shirt. Like, that's the draw of Rob and Ryan, and then that's the international interest means that somebody like United Airlines wants to be on the front of your shirt because of the global interest in the club. And it's I don't know if I was a fan of another club that I would be looking at Wrexham going, oh, that's really good for them. I don't know if I could do it, because I know I've had conversations in the past when other clubs have had the money go into them. I was like, oh, they're just buying the league, but we're different.
Well, and that's the thing. They say, oh, you're buying the league. Well, you know what? You shouldn't have put it up for sale, because you did.
Oh, nice.
And we bought them. Them. Well, I mean, it's like, to your point, anybody in the same situation would embrace it if it was their club. And that same kind of like thing that SJ alluded to before, where there's people who are just kind of miserable and moan and complain about stuff. It's like they're going to find their stuff to moan and complain about no matter what. And so there's people that are like, hey, I think it's good what's going on at Wrexham, and I wish we had something like that. And then you have the opposite side of the spectrum, which is echoing a similar sentiment, but with the negativity. And they're like, oh, they don't deserve to have that happen to them. They're not a club that deserves the community and the people. They weren't there, 3 years ago before the takeover. They weren't supporting them. And so you have like a dual take on the same type of thing, where it's not bad to have owners that care. It's good, but do you feel that Wrexham deserves it, or do you feel that Wrexham doesn't deserve it? And then you get that divide. And after we win a game against another team, it seems like that divide widens.
Yeah.
We're not. Speaking of wins and speaking of divides, score predictions for Newport. SJ, what do you think?
I am going for a clean sheet. I feel bad because I was pretty harsh on my prediction with Barrytown. And I don't know. They've got their strikers have some good numbers, but I feel like maybe it's their defense is an issue. I don't know. I'm going to default to my standard 3-0. 3-0. Clean sheet for Conquo.
Okay.
I'm going to go
Nick?
2-0. Just a solid, straightforward, hopefully 2-0. Maybe with not too much drama.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need drama light, the diet drama of the weekend, and just a nice 3 points. Nobody gets injured. Everybody makes it home
we play
safe.
Some nice football.
And we're looking at, play some good possession or not possession. Whenever we do have the ball, we make our clinical choices. And hopefully Newport hasn't been watching the rest of the matches that we've played recently and go, oh, you could put a high press on them early and you can create some chances. And if our guys can just make it and not miss it, you can get a couple goals. Because it's definitely the last couple of teams that we've faced, they've put the press on us. They've brought it to us in the first half, and they just blew shots that they could have made, which could have meant a difference between where we're sitting on the table and confidence where we're at. So I'm hoping that we start it off and we control the game and we control the tempo and we feel good the whole time. It's just not a roller coaster ride. It's just an easy walk in the park, and we're like, this is a fun.
Yeah.
This is
it's worth
fun
the
one.
3-hour drive. Well, each way, the 6-hour, 7-hour drive. It's worth that. We'll see.
Yeah, are you going down?
I'm going to go down, and then I am staying in, because it's not far from Cardiff, Newport. So I'm going to stay in Cardiff, and then I will go to the women's game on the Sunday. So yeah, good weekend.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
That is a good weekend.
Yeah, football weekend.
Mad football weekend. But before we get out of here, just a last note for any of the younger viewers that may watch this or may not, or somebody that hears about it. As your work with like Her Game 2, fan supporter, what message would you have for young girls or women that are hesitant to get involved into football?
I mean, very simply, I would just say, just do it. But as a more detailed answer, I'm sure you'd want is just to go and look up, find communities, find a football club in your area, get in contact with your Her Game 2. If you're from another club, if you're from, get in contact with your Her Game 2 ambassador, get in contact with Her Game 2. Come and find Merched Kairas on the social media. And I think just finding a community. If you're young and you want to get into football, find where your local team is. I think most, particularly around Wrexham, most football teams have a girls section now and have that in place. Wrexham do soccer schools in half term and summer holidays. They have many, there's lots more opportunity now. Just go out and find it.
Nice. Absolutely love it. On that note, everybody knows their mission now: to make this world a better place for all of us to live in. We, again, on the show have solved world peace. I'd like to thank it. We've done it. We've done it. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on today. And SJ, thanks for the information that you provided with TNS on the women's edition and with Newport on this edition. Sadly, we won't get to do the 2 games in one weekend on a travel away day like Nick, but Nick will be watching your social media. We'll be keeping an ear to it. We'll link everything down for all the projects, Her Game 2, the DragonChat, if the link is available. If not, I'll put the men's chat and then hope the landing page is the same. And if anybody needs to reach out to you on Twitter or social media, where should they contact?
Now you're asking. So I'm going to have to find my Twitter Twitter handle because I don't know what it is. So I am Nic_OLAX. So like Nic_OLAX. Then
okay.
yeah, Merched Kairas. We're on with that on all of our socials, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Come and find us.
Oof. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, Nic. You have been outstanding, and thanks for all the information that you blessed us with. And I think that SJ has one small little thing before we head out of here. What's that, SJ?
Oh, just a reminder to, we've got the good stuff. So click the little subscribe button, and then you will know when we've got more good stuff coming at you. Yeah.
Episodes. Okay.
Episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good episodes. Good stuff. Good things.
Yes,
All
I was
good
like,
things.
I'm not involved in any illegal narcotic transfers going on. Let me just say that. Like, I was about to plead my innocence, and I'm like, look, officer, I don't know anything about what's going on. Again, SJ, thank you so much today. This has been Teach Me How to Wrexham. I'm Ran. That's SJ.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Nic.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. And up the town.
Up the town.
Wait, one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
SJ, what did we need to do?
Emoji. You started it. I love it. So in trying to manifest 3 points, my leaky ship, I think our emoji should be the ship that's like the cut in half ship, and it's got the water behind it. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like a steamship or something. I don't know. I want leaky ships. Show me your leaky ships in the emoji comments.
Okay. All right. So if anybody stayed on for this long, what we're asking for is if you stayed on to the end and you got it this far, just let us know you're part of the final fivers, so that we know that it's not just our friends and family that are watching, that there are other people out there that we provide some type of value for. Well, this has been fun. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, double up the town.
Double up the town.